What's up, friends? It's your boy Mog. This is Wake Up Wyoming here at Wake Up News for January 7th, 2017. Hope you're all doing well here in beautiful Alpine, Wyoming. Wishing you the best as we ring in the new year with no shortage of news going on. You can see our top story today. These two German brothers built a drone out of a bathtub, and they're able to fly around in it, coming from Business Insider. Pretty cool. Pretty fascinating stuff. Could very well be the future of backcountry ski travel right there. If you could hop in a bathtub, remote control bathtub, fly to the top of a mountain, get dropped off, and continue on your merry way. Fascinating stuff. What's up, Brian Peterson? What's up, Jonathan Hogrelius? We're going to get to the scopes at the end of the show, as usual, but I appreciate you tuning in. Brian Peterson, my first ever Patreon subscriber. Thank you so much for tuning in. Much appreciated. All y'all tuning in. We got a big audience already, so let's get right into it. But yeah, look at this crazy bathtub drone here. Pretty cool to see the Germans leading by example, getting things done. Little creativity. You know, it seems like in the world today, we've got a serious lack of creativity coming out of a lot of systems, be it the military, industrial, financial complex, for example, the energy systems, etc., etc. So pretty cool to see this. Hope y'all are doing well. I've been pretty busy the last couple of days. If anybody wants to adopt a Weimaraner, hit me up. His name's Tito. He's a lovely 10-year-old Weimaraner. I'm fostering him at the moment, while my friend Pedro is recovering from a stroke. But my other dogs don't really get along too well with having a third in the house. Moving along in the news. As usual, we're looking at the news from our dear friends at Naked Capitalism. No shortage of news there. If you were worried, don't worry. There's plenty of news in the world. And also our friend Rice Farmer over there in Japan, who likes to really keep a close eye on the world. So no shortage of news there, too. Check out either of those sites if you want your fill when I'm not in the mix. But speaking of the Germans, German ingenuity, why the Germans are currently being paid to use power. Wouldn't that be nice if you had a negative utility bill? Well, it's not everybody, but let's get into it. Germany's drive to use renewable sources of energy seems to be bearing fruit. Beginning last weekend, prices for electricity in the country declined below zero. What? That means consumers are being paid to use power rather than the other way around. Okay, it's not quite as sweet as it sounds at first glance. This isn't even the first time this has happened. According to Europe's largest electricity trading exchanges, it has happened more than 100 times in 2017. All this would seem to bode well for German households, long regarded as operating under the highest energy prices on the continent. Well, not quite, but someone else is getting paid. And the whole matter has crucial implications for where the energy industry is going next. Given the heavy amount of taxes and fees charged for power, the wholesale cost factors in only about 20% of the real price charged to the average resident. See, not quite as good as it sounds at first glance. That means while the period of negative cost helps, prices are still going up for German households. Meanwhile, bigger wholesale users, industry, factories, and other primary end users do see a nice pop. For example, on December 24th, such major consumers of electricity were paid approximately $59.50 per megawatt hour. Sounds like Germany would be a good place to start mining cryptocurrencies on a large scale, don't you think? All this results in excess supply. They're talking about, warmer than usual temperatures, prevalence of winds to provide abundant wind power generation, and this results in excess supply that needs to be moved along the grid. Due to the lack of efficient or effective battery and storage systems, electricity that is produced must be used. So, interesting stuff there coming out of Germany. The Germans, no shortage of creativity over there, be it flying around in bathtubs or generating a whole lot of power with renewables and dropping rates below zero for German industry in the midst of the situation. Of course, here in the U.S., not so creative, not unleashing Tesla tech or even the stuff they let us know about. Trump aiming to open nearly all federal waters to offshore drilling in the biggest lease sale ever. I don't know about you, but I still support clean water, and I hope you do too. So trash in the ocean with a bunch of unnecessary investment in outdated fossil fuel technologies. Just a shame. The Trump administration announced Thursday a draft proposal to offer offshore blocks to gas and oil drillers in almost all of the U.S. outer continental shelf. The plan opens the door to drilling in the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, marking a break with previous administrations. The proposal faces challenges from coastal governors and an uncertain oil price environment that could keep many drillers from bidding for blocks in uncharted territories. Looks like we lost a viewer there, Julie Howlett, saying cryptocurrency. Bye, Julie. I'm not claiming to be a 100% supporter of cryptocurrency, but it's here and it ain't going nowhere. So probably good to be aware of it, don't you think? Moving along. Speaking of the U.S., LA Times, heartbreaking situation there. Severe flu brings medicine shortages, packed ERs, and a rising death toll in California. What? Rising death toll from the flu? Apparently so. So many people have fallen sick with influenza in California that pharmacies have run out of flu medicines. Emergency rooms are packed, and the death toll is rising higher than in previous years. Health officials on Friday said 27 people younger than 65 have died of the flu in California since October. 27 people. That's a lot, compared with 3 at the same time last year. So up about 10 times. Nationwide and in California, flu activity spiked sharply in late December and continues to grow. Emergency room at UCLA, Santa Monica, had more than 200 patients one day this week. And the last time they saw over 200 patients was when the Northridge earthquake struck. So pretty serious flu epidemic there. JR Filthy beat me to the punch there, chiming in chemtrail flu, right? You know, it's funny. Took a couple days off to deal with helping my friend out who had a stroke, go for some skis. But also, I got a little sick. So I'm drinking some good throat coat tea, hitting the emergency pretty hard. Got some garlic supplements. I'm going to make myself some of my crud buster. Because, yeah, chemtrail flu, all too real. It's sad to see. So many people getting sick, respiratory ailments on the rise all over the world. And it might have something to do with all the chemicals that we're breathing in the air. You know, you can live for a couple weeks without water. Without food. You can live for a couple days without water. But you can't live more than a couple minutes without air. We're all stuck breathing. I love breathing, but it's kind of a bummer to breathe when you know you're breathing various poisons. Speaking of the flu thing, it's also an issue over there in the UK, coming out of the Telegraph. The UK NHS hospitals have been ordered to cancel all routine operations in January as a flu spike and bed shortages lead to crisis. Every hospital in the country, in the UK, has been ordered to cancel all non-urgent surgery until at least February in an unprecedented step by NHS officials. The instructions on Tuesday night, which will result in around 50,000 operations being axed, followed claims by senior doctors that patients were being treated in third world conditions, as hospital chief executives warned of the worst winter crisis in 3 decades. It goes on, but the point here is serious flu epidemic. There's lots of chemicals coming out of the sky. Filter your air, filter your water. There's never been a better time to take care of yourself. Delicious emergency. Daniel Reichert chiming in. How do you spell turmeric? Somebody help our dear friend Daniel with that. I think you spelled it right, man. I don't know. Speaking of taking care of yourself, of course, I got the tea with the wisdom on the back of the bag. And what does it say today? The gate to happiness is self-compassion. So there you go. There's your tea bag wisdom for the day. And we're moving along. Big thing. Stay healthy. Take care of yourself. Big thing. People chiming in with all their stuff. Turmeric, ginger, absolutely ginger, really good. You know, there's so many things we can do to improve our health. Gwyneth Paltrow recommends that you give yourself a coffee enema. I don't know about that. Probably gets you jacked up for a little while, but it's I'm just bringing this up because you got to be careful in the world today. Gwyneth Paltrow's company Goop, her e-commerce site, is happy to sell you this little bottle here for $135 so you can shoot coffee up your butt and experience the supposed purported health benefits of doing so. I'd have to say, there's a lot of ways to squirt things up your butt. You could use a turkey baster that you get down there at the dollar store for a couple bucks. So if you really want to squirt things up your butt, I don't really recommend it. Some people swear by enemas, not me. But, coffee, I don't know. Just a funny headline there. And again, don't waste your money. Don't get ripped off by these charlatans. Take care of yourself, but do so wisely. Moving along to international news. I was on Iranian TV the other day. Big thanks to them, Press TV, for putting me on the air. I don't think it's ever going to happen in the States. So kudos to Iran for, I don't know, giving me a place to speak my mind. Appreciate it. And the Iranian government is accusing foreign enemies of sponsoring violent protests, just like the CIA did in 1953 with the coup that happened there. Nearly 65 years after the United States CIA had a crucial role in the overthrow of Iran's government that sent the nation into chaos, Iran's leaders are now accusing foreign enemies of fueling a string of anti-government protests. In the last week, 21 people have died and hundreds of protesters have been arrested. As many of the protesters have openly expressed their criticism of the government, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is blaming the enemies of Iran for the outrage, according to a report from the AP. The start of the protest was economical in nature, but has since been morphed, likely with the help of outside state actors, into a full-scale anti-government movement pushing for regime change. It goes on and on. While it is entirely possible that these protests are an organic uprising against the state and of the economy in Iran, make no mistake that they will be used, just like the Arab Spring, to further the neoconservative Western agenda. The statement comes days after President Trump praised the protests on Twitter. Big protests in Iran, he wrote. The people are finally getting wise as to how their money and wealth is being stolen and squandered on terrorism. Looks like they will not take it any longer. The U.S. is watching very closely for human rights violations. It is likely that if the American people started getting wise as to how their money and wealth is being stolen and squandered on terrorism, and protested accordingly, Trump would share a very different sentiment. But his hostility towards Iran is evident, right? I've experienced human rights violations firsthand out there at Standing Rock. Basically felt like living in a terrorized concentration camp surrounded by hostile military forces where there was a coordinated crackdown by various alphabet soup agencies and private security contractors, aka mercenary armies, to shut down the protest. Free Red Fawn, her trial coming up here real soon. Hope it goes real well for her. She got set up by an FBI informant who just so happened to be her lover as well. Strange days. But yeah, long story short, we saw similar situations back in 2011 with the Occupy movement too, right? What did they do? What did the U.S. do? Trump's concerned about human rights violations, the people waking up to how their money and wealth is being stolen and squandered on terrorism. It's important to note the largest terrorist organization in the world is, in fact, the United States military, right? Now, I don't know how they run things in Iran. I don't know, maybe they're corrupt there too, but it's up to them to sort out their own shit. And, maybe we should get our own house in order here in the homeland before we go blowing up other countries all over the world. Moving along. Speaking of the military-industrial complex, I'm going to paste this one in. I don't have time to read the whole thing, but it's a great article by a former U.S. military officer, U.S. Army officer, about how he became a dissenter. Okay, I'm going to read you a little taste. It's pasted in there. So like that comment if you would, and it'll get bumped to the top and everybody can read it. It's by Major Daniel Shershin. For a while there, I was a real star. High up in my class at West Point, tough combat deployments in 2 wars, a slew of glowing evaluations, even a teaching assignment back at the military academy. I inhabited a universe most only dream of, praised, patted, and highly respected by everyone in my life system, and viewed as a brave American soldier. It was a safe, sensible spot. For most, that's enough. Too bad it was all bunk. Absurdity, incarnate. The truth is, I fought for next to nothing, says former Major Danny Sturgeon, for a country that, in recent conflicts, has made the world a deadlier, more chaotic place. Even back in 2011, or even 2006 for that matter, I was just smart and just sensitive enough to know that, to feel it viscerally. Still, the decision to publicly dissent is a tough one. It's by no means easy. Easy would be to go on playing hero and accepting adulation while staying between the lines. Play it safe, stick to your own, make everyone proud. That's easy, intellectually immature, the new American way. When you take the journey of dissent, you lose friends, alienate family, confuse confidants, and become a lonely voice in your professional world. So, highly recommend this article. It goes on and on. Great read from a former officer in the U.S. Army who's calling out the bullshit nowadays. What's he say? I'll likely die a sad man. This much I know. But for now, I can give voice to a different path, a nobler cause, a chance, at least a chance, of common sense, sober strategy, and, just maybe, a semblance of peace. Something a whole generation has never known. In my own minuscule way, I'll try. We, the few of us who care to question, owe at least that much. So, mad props to Major Danny Sturgeon there for stepping outside the norm, telling it, calling it like he sees it, not being afraid to speak up from a man who's had his feet in the irrigation ditches of Afghanistan firsthand. Speaking of wars and stuff, well, actually, we're on to dissent. We're talking dissent. Now we're on to internet freedom. Expect even less freedom of internet in 2018. Coming from the online journal of the Strategic Culture Foundation. Users of social media have been increasingly reporting that their accounts have been either censored, blocked, or suspended during the past year. Initially, some believed that the incidents might be technical in nature, with overloaded surgers struggling to keep up with the large and growing number of accounts. But it eventually emerged that the interference was deliberate and was focused on individuals and groups that were involved in political or social activities considered to be controversial. Quite the run-on sentence there to get us going. It goes on and on. They talk about the Russian hacking debacle. It's a great way to jam up the news cycle with a bunch of nonsense that really isn't that important until the next unimportant election cycle takes place. Now it has been learned that major social media and internet service providers have, throughout the past year, been meeting secretly with the United States and Israeli governments to remove content as well as ban account holders from their sites. The U.S. and Israel have no legal right to tell private companies what to do, but it is clearly understood that the two governments can make things very difficult for those service providers that do not fall in line. Israel has threatened to limit access to sites like Facebook or to ban it altogether, while the U.S. Justice Department can use terrorist legislation, even if implausible, to force compliance. It goes on and on. So a good read there. I'll paste that one into the comments as well. Go ahead and upload it if you like it, because then more people will see it, and we'll be raising some awareness. It'll be a good time. Speaking of the internet, less freedom. Lately, Facebook, all the big social media companies have been kind of getting pulled into control by the government with all this Russian collusion bunk. But now the leading lobbying group for Amazon, Facebook, Google, and other tech giants is joining the legal battle to restore net neutrality. The companies will intervene in a coming lawsuit through their trade group, the Internet Association, coming out of Recode on January 5th. So we'll keep an eye on that story. Alberto Angel Gonzalez chiming in there. There's no First Amendment in Europe. That's a good point, because our next headline addresses that. So way to be ahead of the curve there. Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube face massive fines as a German hate speech law kicks in. This is pretty wild. Social media companies are facing a Herculean task following the January 1st kickoff of Germany's strict new hate speech laws, giving companies such as Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube 24 hours after a complaint to remove postings containing hate speech. Failure to remove the offending posts in time will expose the platforms to fines of up to 50 million euros. That's 60 million US dollars. New law passed last June, went into effect in October, but social media companies were given until January 1st to prepare for compliance. So, and there's a good example of it right here in the headline. This lady, who's some right-wing politician in Germany, tweeted a reply to the police department of Cologne. And they sent out a New Year's greeting in Arabic. And she was offended by that. You know, whatever. People are entitled to their crazy backwards opinion. And she tweeted in German, "What the hell is happening in this country? Why does an official police site tweet in Arabic?" wrote the Alternative for Germany Conservative Party member. Well, her Twitter account was temporarily blocked. Her tweet was taken down, and it's a big sting. So if that qualifies as hate speech, what's going to happen to Wake Up Wyoming? We're just trying to tell the truth. You know, a little earlier today, I was praising Germany for their creativity. You know, they're flying around in bathtub drones. They got negative electricity rates because they got so many renewables. But, you know, I guess we're all backwards in our own ways. What's up, everybody? Thank you so much. Dory says the dog's in the back. Meister, come here. Yeah, the dog's chilling. The other dog, Tito. Again, if anybody wants to adopt a Weimaraner, he's real sweet. He's always glued to your hip. He's in the house right now, hanging out with my buddy Spencer while he's making us some lunch. But I got a great Weimaraner that needs a good home if anybody wants him. Moving along. Speaking of tech stuff, regressive moves. The Trump administration bans all personal devices from the White House. Wow. Land of the free, huh? Coming from our dear friend Tyler Durden, who never sleeps, over there at Zero Hedge on the 4th. Having warned in November amid a hosepipe of leaks that it was possible, the White House is banning its employees from using personal devices while at work in the West Wing, despite concerns from some staffers that they'll be cut off from children and other relatives trying to reach them. Valid concern. It goes on and on. I'll paste it in there. But long story short, can't bring your smartphone to work anymore if you work at the White House. I'm sure that's going to make them so much more effective and efficient there in D.C. Speaking of tech news and governments and bureaucracy, coming from our friends over there at Boing Boing, published on Wednesday, the NSA can't recruit or retain hackers because the pay sucks and the agency is a bureaucratic mess. I'm going to paste that one in too. The Washington Post reports that the NSA is losing its top talent at a worrisome rate as highly skilled personnel because of a mix of low pay, uninspiring leaders, I know that feeling, and a bureaucratic reorg that everyone hates. There's a post-Snowden angle to all this, with people of goodwill walking away from the agency, right? The path to dissent. But the real story is that the NSA, like all U.S. spy agency, buys in billions of dollars worth of private service from outside contractors. Anyone who doesn't like the NSA's hidebound rules, bumbling leaders, and government pay scales can go to work for a myriad of contractors or set up shop on their own and end up doing basically the same job they did for the NSA for an order of magnitude more pay without any of those strictures. What's more, those contractors aren't limited to working for the NSA, so if you're morally flexible enough, you get to do the same job for a different government too, ensuring lots of glamorous travel and a bottomless fountain of cash. Story goes on and on, but good little graphic there. I like those rats gallivanting around the parking lot at the NSA. What a waste of money. What a waste of money. Moving along. Marisol chimes in there. Good question. She asked, what government agency isn't a bureaucratic mess, right? You know, yeah, it's a dilemma these days. Speaking of messes, a mashup, a melt-up, the relentless stock market melt-up smashes records around the globe. Melt-up Groundhog Day continues as global equity markets begin 2018 with another day of record highs and with their best week in more than a year, extending last year's rally that has seen volatility plunge and risk appetite surge, right? Short volatility, I guess. That's not financial advice. The New Year's ramps to new record highs in stock markets around the world continued for a fourth day on Friday when U.S. equity index futures European and Asian shares all rose. They rose quite a bit too. Stuff in the Dow, the Dow and all of them were up almost a full percent. That's a big deal when you're looking at the entire stock market for the free world. As did the dollar, while oil dropped ahead of the U.S. payrolls report. So yeah, stock market at all-time record highs. Of course, that doesn't really help the average person. It turns out when the big banks, when the global financial syndicate, when the Federal Reserve and all the bankster billionaire buttfuckers, pardon my French, of the world get together and print a bunch of money, gift it to themselves and their buddies, they just use it to buy back their own stocks or buy up real estate, jack up the prices of housing, stuff like that. And the average American kind of gets screwed. Coming out of CNBC, Warren Buffett, the old grandfather billionaire that he is, saying, Warren Buffett on the U.S. economy, the tsunami of wealth didn't trickle down, it surged upward. Warren Buffett knows firsthand the power of American capitalism. As the third richest person in the world that we know about, he has a net worth. Oh no, what happened? I'm sorry, pardon me. We're back. He has a net worth of more than $86 billion. Of course, turns out folks like the Rothschilds have a lot more money than that. And yet, in a piece penned for Time magazine published Thursday, Buffett says there is a problem with that economic system, which made him a king. Many individuals suffer, even as those at the top prosper wildly. Wow, Warren, you're such a bright man. He points to the Forbes 400, which lists the wealthiest Americans. Between the first computation in 1982 and today, the wealth of the 400 increased 29-fold, from 93 billion to 2.7 trillion, while many millions of hardworking citizens remain stuck on an economic treadmill. During this period, the tsunami of wealth didn't trickle down, it surged upwards. So there you go. Hans Schellenberg chiming in there with a good comment. The stock buyback makes my stock more valuable. It's a good point. If you invested in the Dow a year ago, you're up 25% across the board. But at what cost to the rest of civilization? And coming out of the New York magazine a couple days ago, Americans haven't been this poor and indebted for decades. Adding some support to old Warren's statements there, as if you needed any more proof. Trump's approval rating down real low, despite the fact that on paper, the economy looks to be doing great. Still, there may be a separate secondary reason for why Republicans have failed to benefit from presiding over a good economy. That economy isn't nearly as good as the past year of jobs reports and stock tickers would have one believe. All full employment economies aren't created equal. And there's long been a reason to think that our current one is less golden than gilded. As previously noted, we're living through the weakest recovery in post-war history, one that's left the prime age labor force participation rate near decade lows, underemployment above pre-recession levels, and wage growth too tepid to compensate for mounting household debt. Yeah. Oh, we got one couch ganger here. Scott McLarty. Scott, you need to find a life, bro. You need to find a life instead of trying to buy couches from people that are just trying to do something that actually matters in the world. So no, the couch auction has not started. But the Baltic Dry Index has plunged the most in 2 years, despite the global stock melt-up around the world. What's the Baltic Dry Index? Well, it measures how many contracts are being taken out for international shipping arrangements, right? The last 6 months have seen an almost unprecedented surge in world macroeconomic data upside beats as the so-called global coordinated growth narrative surprised more dismal economists. Until recently, the Baltic Dry Shipping Index had confirmed that narrative. But the Baltic Dry Index has dropped for 8 straight days, tumbling over 21%, the biggest drop since January 2015. Baltic Dry Index, big dip, not the first time, but it's important to note here, there you can see it's dipping, while the G10 Economic Surprise Index is humming right along, the Baltic Dry dropping in a big way. And it's important to note here, historically, when the economy, it's always been a bubblicious financial system, right? But you can see right here in 2008, late 2008, when just prior to the global economy taking a big old shiitake, the Baltic Dry Index tanked out there. So if the Baltic Dry Index keeps dropping, that could be a sign that the rest of the house of cards might be falling soon. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. Yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Moving along. Hannah Coben chiming in. We are in a worse depression than the Great Depression, right? Speaking of the Great Depression, the Great Recession, another retail bankruptcy wave is on the way. Credit Suisse says a wave of store closings and retailer bankruptcies is coming in early 2018 as the industry deteriorates faster than analysts had expected a year ago, according to Credit Suisse Group AG. The retail business's large and undeniable transformation will crimp rents and vacancy rates this year. Bonds backed by these loans will likely weaken, they added. Okay, why are stores closing? If the economy is doing so great, is there this retail bankruptcy wave sweeping the world? You want proof of it? Right here. Sears is closing 100 more stores. Sears told its employees Thursday it'll be shutting over 100 more stores. That's 64 Kmarts and 39 Sears, all of which are expected to close between early March and April of this year. Luckily, they're not going to close their Kmart here in Jackson. Coming out of the Jackson Wholesale today, the Jackson Kmart is not on the hit list. Attention, Kmart shoppers. The Jackson store on Highway 89 is not on the list of 64 Kmart stores that will be closed in early April. You know why? Because the Jackson Hole Kmart is probably the most profitable Kmart in the world. Because we don't have a Walmart. We don't have any big box stores except for Kmart. And the Kmart in Jackson caters to a population of billionaires on vacation. So, more proof there too. Macy's announces 5,000 job cuts and 7 new store closures. Pretty wild that all these stores are closing while the economy is supposedly doing fine. It's kind of funny. It turns out when the price of housing goes up higher than, at a per annum annual rate much greater than wages, people don't have as much money to spend. So you ain't going shopping at Macy's. You ain't going shopping at Sears. You ain't even going shopping at Kmart. You're going shopping at the thrift shop. And I encourage that. Moving along. Coming out of our friends at Bloomberg, speaking of crazy capitalist systems, we saw this one coming. Published by Bloomberg, January 4th. Wildfires threaten to make home insurance unaffordable. Okay, this is actually really important. Insurers are dropping homeowners, and they started even before the 2017 blazes. These are issues that all states and Americans are facing. Just like flood insurance, you can dictate what gets developed, where people live, by changing the insurance rates, right? If you live in a flood-prone area, they're going to rape you on the insurance costs. And now the same's true with wildfires. Why? Well, because the climate change agenda says they're more frequent and intense. Never mind the clear, blatantly obvious manipulation of our planet's climate systems via geoengineering technologies. Coming out of Bloomberg, more frequent and intense wildfires are making it harder for homeowners to find and keep insurance in California, a state regulator warned on Thursday. The problem of insurance availability is going to expand after last year's record-breaking wildfires, California Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones said in an interview Thursday. He said growing rates of non-renewal and rate increases for people in wildfire zones are entering a critical stage. The number of homeowners in fire-prone areas who complained about getting dropped by their plans increased 250% from 2010 to 2016, Jones Department reported Thursday. In the 24 counties in California with the greatest wildfire risk, the number of policies canceled by companies increased 15% between 2015 and 2016 alone. In at least 6 of those counties, that number grew by more than 50%. So big deal there. You know, it's funny. I'm kind of tucked up in the woods here. I'm surrounded by trees. What if all of a sudden it's decided that my house can't be insured because there's a wildfire risk? So this kind of ties in with that whole UN Agenda 21, UN Agenda 2030 thing. Again, those wildfires in California smell a little stinky. You know, hearts go out to all the people who lost their homes, all the people who lost their lives in those crazy fires in Sonoma County, Napa County, Ventura County, Santa Barbara, etc., etc. But yeah, it is what it is. Moving along. Speaking of disasters, you know, it's funny too. We live in a world where the U.S. government, I got a book here written in 1976 that's all about how far along they were with weather modification technologies 40 years ago, 40 plus years ago. And it's wild. It seems like they just totally forgot that they have the power to steer hurricanes. They have the power to weaken storms or strengthen storms, to use the weather as a weapon, or to, you know, tweak the climate a little bit to decrease these horrible things. Strangely, hurricanes saved the year for car sales in the U.S., and it's fascinating. But I'm going to read you a little excerpt here to just lay it out. You know, fascinating stuff all the way back in the 60s. It's like, or excuse me, the early 70s. Where have you seen that before? Weird. See that in the sky. Back in the 40s, World War II. Weird. All these friggin' chems up in the sky. Isn't that funny? But this book, very illuminating on the topic. Back in the 70s, comparing weather disasters to a nuclear war in terms of the thing. Here we go. So, the argument for taming tropical cyclones, this is mid-70s, is economic rather than humanitarian. When Project Storm Fury started in the United States in 1962 as a joint effort of the U.S. Navy and Department of Commerce, the mood of the times favored a technological fix for the world's ills. The chief idea in Project Storm Fury is to seed the cyclone, same thing as a hurricane, with silver iodide smoke on the outside edge of the eye wall. The object is to release heat and build clouds that will spread out over the zone of high winds, so weakening them and the whole storm. Rough tests were carried out in 1961, Hurricane Esther, and 1963, Hurricane Beulah. But the principal experiment was in 1969. Aircraft seeded Hurricane Debbie on the 18th of August, and the maximum wind at 12,000 feet dropped from 98 to 68 knots. During the following day, the storm recovered, and on a third day, a repetition of the seeding reduced the wind from 99 to 84 knots. So, 49 years ago, that was happening. It goes on and on. It talks about Project Storm Fury going on. Yeah, it's fascinating. Stuff's been around for a long time. Makes me wonder why the hell we had such a horrible hurricane season when the U.S. government has been intentionally manipulating hurricanes for decades, generations. Moving along to crypto news. Okay, this is important. This is a couple days old, but Ripple becomes the first cryptocurrency after Bitcoin to surpass 100 billion. What's up, Couch Gang? Pay attention. You might learn something more important than harassing people on the internet like a bunch of childish trolls. And come our dear friends at Zero Heads, Anatomy of a Crypto Nightmare. The Ripple CEO, who really hasn't done anything except for be a little stooge for the banks, is now richer than Mark Zuckerberg. Stranger than fiction. Having soared 36,000% last year and continuing its crazy run in 18, Ripple has surged ahead of Ethereum as the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap. Hannah Coben chiming in there. Goldman Sachs is getting in on Bitcoin. Oh, they sure are. And Ripple is one of their ways in. So you can see your Bitcoin market cap, 246 billion, Ripple, 143 billion, Ethereum kicked to the third spot. 97 billion. David McHugh chiming in, Zcash making a move. Thanks for the heads up. But this is fascinating stuff. Ripple CEO is now the 5th richest man that we know about in the world. But it is Tom Luongo that is most concerned at this crypto nightmare, and for good reason. Amidst all the bullish talk about cryptocurrencies, we know that a strike back from the banking system and its owners is coming. In fact, the attack, as Tom sees it, is well underway. And it began with the attack on the credibility of Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin Cash more in line, more functional than the original Bitcoin, more in line with the philosophy and stated intentions of the creator, Satoshi Nakamoto. And it's continuing with the attack, continuing with the insane pump of Ripple and any coin that has direct ties to what? To old money. What I want to posit today is how the next crash in the cryptocurrency markets can and likely will play out. Ooh, this is not financial advice. To lay this out, you have to believe a few things are true. 1, the major money center banks have all been trading Bitcoin and other altcoins for a long time. They have substantial books to push and pull the price. 2, the futures market is used to control the price during daytime hours in the US and Europe. 3, Bitcoin's failure to implement SegWit 2x and its current dysfunction was intentional in order for Blockstream, not good people over there at Blockstream, to offer a solution to a problem that needn't have existed. Okay, it's the Hegelian dialectic, classic problem, reaction, solution. What's the problem with Bitcoin? Oh, it's too slow and the fees are too high because the block size is too small. All you'd have to do is increase the block size from 1 megabyte to 10 megabytes or 300 megabytes or a gigabyte. Doesn't really matter. Make the block size bigger. It's just like creating a bigger newspaper, printing, add more pages to the book. Very simple, very straightforward. Lots of great comments in here. Thank you for all that. So anyway, the problem with Bitcoin doesn't need to exist. It could have been fixed easily. The Lightning Network is simply a backup control plan in case Ripple isn't adopted by the marketplace as the crypto settlement and exchange layer. It creates a second layer of centralization off-chain. That's the B2X stock ticker, crypto ticker. Legislation and regulation to date has been designed to allow money to flow into the crypto markets, but not back out again. That's true. Ripple, otherwise known as Bankster Coin among those crypto enthusiasts, is the stalking horse of the cryptocurrency industry. Its meteoric rise in price coincides with Bitcoin's peak and subsequent meandering. It was done, timing-wise, to see articles like this, here, and here, written as we ring in the new year. Well, what are those articles all about? I'll open one, but I'm pretty sure it says Ripple is rocking the house. Yeah. Finishes with a 36,000% return in 2017, but it's Bankster funded. The Bitcoin trap. This goes on and on. I'm going to read you just some of it. I'll paste this one in because this one is worth reading in its entirety if you really want to understand what's going on in crypto markets. So it's easy to believe in an irrational pump of Bitcoin at 20,000 and the subsequent rotation out and into Ripple, boosting its price and profile while leaving the noobs hanging at the top. Add in Bitcoin futures trading to help the tail wag the dog, insane transaction fees that have everyone wondering what's so great about this Bitcoin if it costs $30 to move 100, and you have a setup for carnage. The spike to 20,000, in the author's opinion, Tom, was created by the very hinky rollout of rival Bitcoin Cash by Coinbase last month. The goal was to sow confusion and undermine Bitcoin Cash as an alternative to Bitcoin. Again, if you want control over the entire market, you do so by killing off real competition. See, folks, all of this confusion and carnage comes from not having any kind of centralized control. But hey, there's this new cool thing called Ripple, which solves all of that, and the price is going bonkers. Trap set. Goes on and on. Long story short, the plan is to have Ripple go way up in price. Well, here we go. So as 2018 plays out, we as traders and investors need to be aware of the dangers of centralized liquidity and move our liquidity off of them, supporting projects that will build the kind of infrastructure Bitcoin's initial design was supposed to support. So many people who have gotten into cryptocurrencies in 2017 will not have an exit strategy in 2018 when the fan gets hit with the shit by design. As we saw in the peak in December, getting your money into or off of Coinbase was a nightmare. Viewing the market structure through this lens provides a way to siphon off some of the energy the banks are propelling cryptos with to not only fatten your wallets, but bring validity and stability to the markets and businesses that will carry on the fight before it's yet another case of meet the new boss, same as the old boss. So there you go. Cryptos. If you're following them, you know, I don't support them 100%. They're here to stay. They are a threat to the financial system. So the financial system strikes back, just like Star Wars. The Empire always strikes back. It's up to us to, you know, return Jedi-like, I guess. Moving along. Speaking of cryptos, Mark Zuckerberg says Facebook is looking into cryptocurrency. He gave cryptocurrency enthusiasts a little optimism for the new year, referencing cryptocurrencies in a posting Thursday in which he laid out how he will spend 2018 trying to correct persistent problems, including the proliferation of hate speech and misinformation that have dogged his wildly popular social network for the last 2 years. There are important countertrends to this, encryption and cryptocurrency, that take power from centralized systems and put them into people's hands, Zuckerberg wrote, but they come with the risk of being harder to control. I'm interested to go deeper and study the positive and negative aspects of these technologies and how best to use them in our services. So there you go, Zuckerberg, Zuckerfucker in there. Bam. Speaking of which, these guys, these college kids are doing a lot more with their time, with their computers, than just sitting around trying to buy an imaginary couch on the internet like a bunch of trolls, harassing wonderful live streamers who are out there putting themselves on the line, trying to share information and build community. These guys are mining cryptocurrencies in their dorm rooms. Why? Because you don't pay for power in college. It's built into the 30, 40, 50, 60, $70,000 annual tuition. So these kids are taking advantage of the free electricity to mine cryptos. I'm going to paste this one in for you to check out because I don't have time to read it, but it's fascinating. I hope these kids know a little bit about dirty electricity and how that stuff can really screw you up. Turns out, you know, like working in like an aluminum smelter or something, not good for your overall mental, physical, and spiritual health. Probably not that good of an idea to sleep right next to a dozen computers that are simultaneously mining Ethereum too. But you kids do what you want, you crazy kids in your dorm rooms mining cryptocurrency. When I was in college, all we were doing in our dorm rooms was drinking cheap, shitty beer and playing shitty, outdated computer games, among other things. Moving along, Ashwin Prasath asked, what about Ripple? I just did a good segment on Ripple there. Check it out in the comments if you would. Thanks for your comment there. It's over there at Zero Hedge about a crypto nightmare. Fascinating stuff. Moving on to local news, we're taking a look at the Jackson Hole Area Bridger Teton National Forest avalanche forecast for today, January 7th. 2017. It's valid until midnight tonight. Just a couple inches picked up, 3 inches at 9,300 feet, 5 inches at 8,800 feet. Winds out of the west, average wind speed is 17, gusting to 37 up there at the top of Rendezvous Summit, so not as windy as it has been. A few inches of new snow fell in the Tetons, with the west side being most favored. That's Grand Targhee for those of you in the know. Skiers and riders venturing into steep, avalanche-prone terrain at the mid and upper elevations could trigger dangerous, persistent slabs ranging in depth from 2 to 4 feet. Backcountry travelers could also trigger shallow pockets of newly developed wind slab and loose snow sloughs in very steep leeward terrain, near upper elevation ridge lines, and a conservative approach to terrain management is still warranted above 7,500 feet. At the lower elevations, backcountry travelers might be able to trigger an isolated pocket of soft slab in very steep gullies and ravines. I'd say above 7,000 feet, you can get into some trouble. 7 to 8, super sketchy sugar snow. Be careful out there, my friends. It's dangerous in the mountains. Considerable avalanche warning at upper and middle elevations. Down low, they're saying it's low, but those of us in the know, I'd watch out even down low at the moment. If you want to support my work, hit me up over there on the Patreon. Right now, I got 21 patrons for a whopping $383 per month. This is my job. Trying to make a living at this. So far, it's not going too well. So if you want to help me out, pony up right there at patreon.com. Big thanks to all my subscribers. Thank you all 21 of you, really helping out here. I'm going to leave that up on the screen here while we get into the Jackson Hole daily for the day. For the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, the 6th and 7th, NASA on a mission for skiers and scientists. They want civilians to go out there and do their work for them, probing the snowpack and reporting the information with their tracking devices, their smartphones, pit viper in the house. And, it's funny, civilian scientists, if you're just going out there probing the snow, NASA's stoked. But if you are, let's say you're out there like testing the snowpack for geoengineering chemicals, probably going to reject your science. The Jackson Kmart again. Don't worry, guys. It's not on the hit list as the retail meltdown occurs simultaneously with the stock market melt up in the backwards economy. Coming from the Department of Injustice, the pot move rolls back modernity. Great little article there by Timothy Egan. I don't think you have to worry too much about Trumpo and gang coming after your marijuana, but I could be wrong. And there's not too much really exciting in here. Colorado River suffering a below normal snowpack. You got some classic, in national, international news. I'll close down this window now because you guys are probably getting tired of seeing that. You got the classic Russiagate bullshit. They got to keep that. And then some more Trump bashing there and this new book about the Trump White House. And the FBI investigates Clinton Foundation corruption claims. But, it's funny. It's amazing how they word this stuff. The Clintons, doesn't seem like they're going to get into too much trouble. They love creating controversy surrounding Trumpo just to keep the country divided, distracted, deceived. Not a big fan of Trumpo, but it's fun watching how the mainstream media demonizes the guy. Koreans are sitting down for peace talks next week in preparation for the Olympics coming up here real soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a little terror attack at the Olympics. Just a hunch. An enormous tuna sold for $320,000 in Tokyo. That's an 892-pound bluefin tuna. Imagine hooking into that thing. Whew. Amazing how those things go. Of course, there's a little propaganda about the protests in Iran in the local paper. Local paper, by the way, 70% advertising, 20% fluff, 10% so-called news. Huge waste of trees. What a waste of trees. But the UN Security Council emergency meeting on the protests roiling Iran, that's how they phrase it, is putting Tehran on notice that the world will be watching what it does, the U.S. ambassador said Friday. No shortage of moral outrage when it furthers an agenda like getting the global banking cartel into one of the few countries on the planet that has said no to them thus far. Stocks climb for the fourth straight day. S&P 500 up 0.7%, 2.6% on the week. Dow Jones up 0.9%, kind of a big deal. NASDAQ Composite up 0.8%. So stock market at all-time record highs due to the pumping of liquidity used to buy back stocks. The pretty funny Dilbert in here today. Tax cuts supposedly yielding fatter paychecks soon. What tax cuts? The Trumpo tax cuts. The massive Republican tax legislation signed into law last month by President Trump kicked in on January 1st. Build billed, keyword is it was billed as a huge benefit for the stressed middle class. It brings the biggest overhaul to the U.S. tax code in 3 decades. The $1.5 trillion package, bear in mind that's just $1.5 trillion added to the deficit, provides generous tax cuts for corporations and the wealthiest Americans, and more modest reductions for middle and low income individuals and families. So there you go. There's your tax legislation supposedly helping the average American, providing generous tax cuts to the wealthy and corporations, and more modest reductions to you and me. Go figure. Imagine that. We're going to get into the scopes pretty quick here. A lot of fluff, no shortage of advertising. Fluffity fluff, sports and sports. Ryan Burke makes the paper talking about the predictable unpredictability of the mountains. Couldn't agree with you more there, bro. Mad props to him for all his work. Weirdness in brief. This guy in Philadelphia is measuring his child compared to relative to the size of cheesesteaks. So that's good. Thanks for sharing that. Jackson Hole Daily. None of the comics are funny, which is always sad to see because the comics used to be pretty good in the paper, but nowadays they suck. Again, as usual, here in Jackson Hole, we got no shortage of jobs. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's more jobs in there. 5, 6 pages of jobs, but of course, no place to live, at least affordable places to live. And that's how it works here in Jackson Hole. It's a microcosm of a macro problem where, like our dear friend Warren Buffett said, the wealth doesn't trickle down, it surges upward. John Bayron looking for some DMT. Anybody have some DMT? John, you've got it in your brain, man. It's already there. You just got to access it, bro. Get into it. But here, we're shredding the paper. Anybody help John out? Go ahead. I'm not trying to sell drugs. I'm not trying to give financial advice. I'm just trying to help a brother out. I don't even know what DMT means, Sean. What is that? What is that? And there's your news for today. Getting into the scopes. Brian Peterson. These guys, man, you guys are getting jumpy. You're getting tired of me just talking and talking and talking. Sorry. I'm in a good mood today because I'm surrounded by all you lovely friends. Brian Peterson, my first ever Patreon subscriber. Thank you so much. Again, I don't believe in horoscopes. I don't really believe in astrology. I think that, you know, it started off when we were reading the paper. It's in the paper along with all the other nonsense. But it is a great excuse to pause and reflect and have some fun here with our community. So, into the scopes. Caveat lector. Let the reader beware. 4-star day for you, Brian Peterson. You could feel as if someone is raining on your parade. I hope it's not me, bro. Perhaps this person is an elder who has strong opinions. Remain confident, Brian, though you may want to ask yourself why you would take this person's judgments to heart. Good question. Tonight, know that it could be a late night. This week, excitement surrounds you because of the people in your life. Jerry Wallace looking for Scorpio. Scorp's coming at you, Jerry. Jerry Wallace out of Salt Lake City. I hope that it's not too smoggy there for you, brother. Keep your head up above the clouds. 5-star day, Scorpio. Reach out to a loved one whom you have not seen in a while. As a result, both of you will be happier. Listen to a friend who is a confidant and share some important news. Figure out how to incorporate this information into your life. Tonight, keep any plans hush-hush for now, Jerry. This week, others can't seem to get enough of you. I know that's true for me. Daniel Reichert spiraling into the abyss of fun, and he's looking for the Pisces. Fishman going down the abyss. What is that? The maelstrom. The Pisces swirling in formation, yin-yang formation, down into the maelstrom. Daniel Reichert, always a pleasure. 5-star day for you, sir. One-on-one relating could affect your finances as well as your attitude towards a partner. You might feel as if this person is being selfish or not as generous in his or her dealings with you. Ask yourself whether this is a phrase or a long-term issue. Tonight, Daniel, in the limelight, as always, bro. High five. Psh. This week, others insist on making the first move. Hans Schellenberg encouraging people to eat the cactus. I think that's a reference to What is that stuff called? Weird. I don't know what you're talking about. Iris, Beres, Pedriera, Scorpion, Scorpio. Just read that for our dear friend Jerry. So hopefully you caught that. Iris, thank you so much for tuning in. Always great to see your lovely face and your excellent comments here. Tammy Farrell telling people party like it's 1999 or prep for an uncertain future. I think you should do both. But again, whatever you're doing, all things in moderation. Don't party too hard. Don't prep too hard. Definitely don't take all your money right now and shove it into cryptocurrencies, but maybe a little bit. I don't know. Do what you want. Not financial advice. Wake Up News, the Zachary Coons himself. Everybody needs to ride Zach's ass because he's got a webcam now and he can be doing live streams too. And he's gonna. And we just got to get that ball rolling, Zach. I'm stoked to get you on the show. And we got a message from him too. He's my ground control to Major Tom. Peyote. Zachary Coons coming in with the right answer that was eluding me there. Peyote. If you want to learn about peyote, read The Teachings of Don Yankee by Carlos Castaneda. Zachary, you're having a 3-star day. Be aware of a tendency to splurge and cause yourself unnecessary problems. How you handle a difficult situation could change depending on what you have planned to do. A movie, might be the perfect outing for you and a close loved one. Tonight, dinner at a favorite spot. This week, get past the money issue by having a discussion with an expert. That's not me. Everybody chiming in. Jerry Wallace, the correct answer on the DMT, Demented Mutant Turtles. Absolutely right. Space Gnomes, whatever you want to call it. 543 DMT. Strap in and hold on for the ride. Hans Schellenberg, the Bull. I'm a Taurus too. Let's see what's in store for us, if the stars can be trusted. 5-star day. So far, so good. Your sense of direction forces you to head in a different direction from what you had anticipated. You see a venture in a very different light. A restriction could appear at the last minute. Still, do your best to move forward. Tonight, open to new horizons and insights. This week, you need to clear out as much work as possible. I hope that's a good thing, Hans. I don't know. Matthew Kehoe chiming in there. DMT is already in you, dude. Yeah, Max was right. Thank you, Matthew. Matthew, good to see you doing live streams. Sorry I haven't responded to you yet. I will shortly. I've been busy reading up on the show, watching this dog Tito, helping my friend Pedro, and getting into the unpredictability of life. Geo folds, 4-star day. Leo, Geo. Make an effort to call a friend whom you have not had time to visit with over the holidays. Of course, your call will be appreciated, even if this person doesn't sound grateful. Make plans with a loved one to get together for a fun happening. Tonight, Geo, make it an early bedtime. So there you go. And this week, Geo, just in case you trust the stars, you make a good impression in general, but this week, your charisma soars. There you go. Steve Hoyer still looking to buy a couch. Man, Steve, you got to find a new hobby, bro. Couch gang is so stupid. Dory Blackney, thanks for the message earlier there. I'm sorry you've been having a bit of a tough time lately with some health stuff. I probably shouldn't even mention that because I'm violating HIPAA rules here in the U.S. Could get flagged as hate speech. Perhaps additionally for calling out the couch gang for their immature antics online in an era when this is our only way to keep in touch with each other. Probably not a good idea to gum it up with a bunch of bullshit about trying to buy non-existent couches. Teach yourself about cryptocurrencies. Find a hobby. Anything but couch comments, please. 4-star day, Dory Blackney. You could be pushing yourself way too hard, Dory. Maybe that's it. Sometimes slowing down seems difficult, but it is necessary. A family member might need some extra attention from you right now. Be smart and give this person what he or she needs. Tonight, Dory, take a load off and be more easy going. Linda Hatchett, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you stay well and keep strong as well. Tammy Farrell, thanks for tuning in. Have a lovely day. Looks like David Earl sharing a little comment there about the tax cuts. Do check that one out. Vade, Alexi, looking for Capricorn. You got it, Vade. Thank you so much for tuning in. I don't think I've seen you here before, so welcome to Wake Up Wyoming. Try to have a good time. Stay awake, stay aware. 3-star day. Others wonder why you have become so busy and serious-minded as of late. Responsibilities seem to carry a heavy weight in your life, Ed. Be sensitive to the alternatives regarding a work-related issue. You don't always need to take the lead. Tonight, out for dinner, babe. This week, others admire your success. So there we go. Yeah, man. Steve still trying to buy couches. Sad. Dory, thank you so much for tuning in. Chris Hardgrave, Capricorn. Coming at you, Chris. Thanks for tuning in. That's a hell of a mustache. I'm assuming that you're the man on the left, not the lady on the right, because generally Chris spelled with a CH is a man's name. And you, sir, look like a real man with that bitchin' mustache. If I could grow one like that, I sure as shit would. You're having a 3-star day, brother. Others wonder why you have become so busy and serious-minded as of late. Responsibilities seem to carry a heavy weight in your life. Be sensitive to the alternatives regarding a work-related issue. I already read this one, and you don't always need to take the lead. Tonight, out to dinner, and as we just stated for our dear friend Vade, this week, others should admire your success. Chris, I know I'm admiring that beautiful mustache. Chrissy Felina, looking for Taurus. I already read that one. So, there you go. Matthew Kehoe, horoscope's way too accurate today. Jeff Noltman must be in the Honda gang, not to be confused with the Couch gang. They're so much wittier and more fun. He's looking to buy an 89 Honda Civic. Jeff, I'll tell you what, bro. Here's what you should do. You and the Honda gang should all buy 1989 Honda Civics, right? Take them to a parking lot, like a stadium or something, and just host a big old demolition derby. See how it goes. Moving along. Oh, God, yeah. Let's see. How old am I? I am 36 years old. Thank you. I wish I could understand what your name says, but I don't speak that language or read that. Dwayne Stone King looking for Gemini. Always good to see somebody that's actually a legitimate human with a legitimate comment or question, as opposed to these creepy little trolls looking for couches and Hondas. 5-star day for you, Dwayne. Reach out to a loved one. When you are with this person, your creativity seems to go up several notches. Together, you come up with some wild, yet doable ideas. Be willing to try a new pastime or a different place. Get past being locked into your routine. Tonight, make nice. This week, Dwayne, you will break past a problem quickly if you tap into your ingenuity. Wake Up News, Zachary Coons chiming in. Fuck your couch. Amen. Daniel Reichert, it is a convertible couch, but the top is long gone. Yeah, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, Clayton Best. Always good to see you, Clayton. Sorry about the couch gang here. Sorry, I still haven't gotten the email notifications going for when we go live. Chrissy Felena, thank you for tuning in. As always, Geofolds, thank you. Dwayne Stone King, unidentified flying objects, always exciting to see. Matthew Kehoe, you're a beautiful man. It's good to see the couch gang. Hannah chiming in, that's true. All these couch people are still hearing you. Yep. Great group. Lots of great comments here. Randall, Hacker for Life, looking for Libra, coming at you with the Libra. Dawn M. Krieger, I already read Virgo, so hopefully you caught that one. And I already read Capricorn too, Johnny Gabriel. So, now you know. But I don't think I have read Libra yet, so let's check that out. 4-star day for you, Randall. Thank you for tuning in, as always. You could be pushing yourself way too hard. Sometimes slowing down seems difficult, but it is, in fact, quite necessary. Good point. Good point there, horoscope lady. A family member might need some extra attention from you right now. Be smart and give this person what he or she needs. Tonight, be more easygoing. And Randall, Hacker for Life. Keep hacking hard. Don't join the NSA because I heard the pay sucks there and the bureaucratic clusterfuck is hell. Pardon my French. But this week, you soar into Monday, a force to be reckoned with. Wake Up News wants to recruit the Couch Gang. Anybody in the Couch Gang wants to do something legitimate with their lives, you should consider joining hashtag Truth Gang, or whatever it ends up being called, because it's going to be a lot more fun to go troll the mainstream instead of trolling people who are just trying to get the word out. Yeah. Sue Green chiming in. Good show today, Max. Sue, thank you so much. You know why the show was so good? Because I slept so well underneath that wonderful denim Wake Up News quilt that you sent me for Christmas. Thank you, Sue. Love you. Hope you're doing well over there in Boise. Oh, Chris Hardgrave is the woman. Sorry, Chris. The mustache man is Kim McKinney, my boyfriend. It's funny in the world today with names. Pardon me, Chris. I don't mean to jump to conclusions or make assumptions. Your boyfriend is a beautiful man with a beautiful mustache, but you're a beautiful lady too. So it looks like you two are made for each other. Hans Schellenberg encouraging people to get grounded, take off your shoes, and walk on the ground. Good advice there. And we got some more folks with names I could never possibly pronounce because I don't even know how to read that alphabet, giving us greetings from Serbia, Europe. Thank you so much for tuning in, Serbia. Really appreciate that. Larry Ramirez encouraging people. We were talking about health a little earlier. He's saying Pineapple Express for breakfast health is wealth. I need my bag. Larry, you do you, bro. You do you. Matthew Kehoe chiming in there. Great comment as usual. The couch gang is getting won over. Whilst the truth hurts initially, it's contagious. That's right. If you're going to be trolling, you might as well be trolling for truth. You can't troll a troll, couch gang. I've been trolling the mainstream media for years. You could try, but it ain't going to work very well. You're probably going to end up learning something you didn't want to learn in the first place. And then down the rabbit hole you go. And on that note, your boy Mug, putting on the money counters, going outside to walk the dogs. Again, I got a Weimaraner named Tito. Badass dog. But I don't have space for him. Anybody needs a Weimaraner named Tito. He's about 10. He's very, very, very affectionate and very quiet. Iris says she wants to see my view here. You know, Iris, we could probably do that right now, I think. Let's see. I'm going to close out the scopes here. Yeah, you want to see my view? Hold on. See if this works. I guess it's not super fancy, but let's see. There's what I'm looking out the backyard there. And there's some really pretty mountains off in the distance, but I'll have to re-rig this webcam so things are, so we can really take in the whole view out there. So there you go, Iris. A little taste, a little preview of coming attractions. Michael Shane Kirkpatrick thinking about getting into the live stream game. I think that's a good move. Daniel Riker, peace out to you too. Nicole, I'm glad you like the view. Thank you so much. You're pretty too. And again, if anybody wants to support my work, you're more than welcome to. It'd be very much appreciated by me and the rest of the crew here at Wake Up Wyoming as we're trying to push things forward. Get Wake Up News to really take off. Of course, we have a new patron within the midst of the show. Wow. Who is it? I have a notification on Patreon. Alex Lanfear, I don't know. Sorry there, Dolores, for showing that you deleted yours. I don't think that was on purpose. But Alex, thank you so much. Right now, I'm at -12 for pledges in January 2018, ringing off the new year. Ringing it in, coming in hard, going strong. But if you want to support my work, go on over there to patreon.com/Max Mogren. You're more than welcome. Much appreciated. Again, not a rich man, but if I can make a living doing this, well, I'm going to do a lot better job at it because I'm not going to be worried about what I'm going to eat. I'm going to be living off oatmeal. And on that note, I'm signing off. You all have a beautiful, beautiful day with your beautiful selves. Take care of yourselves. You don't want to get into the hospital. You don't want to be a part of this flu epidemic. You don't want to be a statistic. Drink enough water. Eat healthy food. Get enough sleep. Try not to stress about all the problems in the world. Because remember, we live in an era of terrorist rule, weaponized information. Right? The mainstream media is full of depressing news by design. If the mainstream media wanted to, they could publish a full-page article about Tesla tech and let people know that we're living a lie with this fossil-fueled system. They could publish an expose about what really happened on 9/11. And if that was the case, people would realize they're living in a lie and that the world's largest terrorist organization is, in fact, the United States government. So, don't let them get you down with the weaponized information. Take care of yourselves, the ones you love. Do what you can within your sphere of influence, and whatever you do, don't join the couch gang unless they come around and start trolling for truth instead of just spreading a bunch of nonsense, gumming up the airwaves, and upsetting very vulnerable yet courageous live streamers like yourselves. I'm signing off. Y'all take care. Dwayne M. Stone King, thank you, sir. Much appreciated. Always good to get some great feedback from a brilliant man like the one and only Dwayne W. Stone King. I'm signing off. One love. Peace.